Hey guys, welcome back to Whiskey Blooded. My name is Dave. Thank you for joining me here today. It is Wednesday, and so we're going to be doing our normal Wednesday reviews. I just saw you guys on Saturday, but I'm really excited to be back here doing another review for you today. So right now, today, I'm going to be going through Larceny. I actually went through my reviews to try to figure out what I haven't done for you guys yet, and I said, holy crap, I haven't done Larceny yet for you. So for those of you guys that don't know, Larceny is a wheated bourbon. It's very well priced. I think this is normally about $25. We don't have it here in Michigan, but most of you in the southern areas probably have Larceny, like the Carolinas, the Floridas, the Texas. If you go a little bit even into Illinois, and I think Ohio's got this one too. And then as you go east, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we have many people from New York and stuff that could tell us if this is in their area. But this is a very popular wheated, low price point bourbon. Does that mean it's good? Well, let's find out. That's what we're here to review. So before we get into our normal format of the pouring and the looking at the color and the nose and the taste and reviewing it, and scoring it rather, let's go through the story of Larceny because we've been doing that more. I've noticed my videos are running a little bit longer, so if I talk a little faster or maybe leave a couple things out or do a couple things a little faster than normal, I want to try to keep these videos under 10 minutes for you guys. And so I'm watching the timer this time. So here we go. So let's go through with Larceny. The first thing I'm going to do is I'll read you the back of the bottle, and then I've got my phone here. I'm going to read you something from their website. So Larceny is 92 proof. It is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It is a very special small batch. And the bottle says here, John E. Fitzgerald's weakness was fine bourbon, and he faced temptation every day. As a treasury agent, with the only set of keys to the rick houses, taking from barrels was easy, but he didn't just take from any barrels, he took from the best barrels. Some say he was a thief. Others claim he was a man of great taste. This is the legend of Larceny. Unlock the smoothness and decide for yourself. So it's got this key on the front and this key here, which kind of indicates his status as one of the treasury agents. So what do we know about that? Back when things were bonded, in order for them to be bonded, and still, there were actual keys, and they were controlled by the treasury agents, and these treasury agents were the only ones that had access to open and unlock and open these rick houses. So that was how things happened back then. I'm probably getting a little bit of that wrong, but gives you an idea. So I'm going to pull out the phone and read you their website information because it goes a little bit further. It goes into the backstory. So it says, Larceny Kentucky Straight Bourbon has its origins in the long and colorful history of John E. Fitzgerald and the Old Fitzgerald brand. According to lore, John E. Fitzgerald built a distillery on the banks of the Kentucky River in the 1870s and sold his fine bourbon to rail lines, steamships, and private clubs. The Old Fitzgerald brand was first registered in the 1880s by S.C. Hearst and was eventually sold to Julian P. Pappy Van Winkle during Prohibition. Pappy moved production of Old Fitz to his distillery, where it became the first great wheated bourbon and eventually one of the most famous bourbon brands in the world. The truth behind the legend. Revealed in a family biography of Pappy Van Winkle, John E. Fitzgerald was not actually the man he was always portrayed as. He was in fact a bonded treasury agent who at the time were the only people legally allowed to carry the keys of the barrel storage warehouses. Mr. Fitzgerald apparently had a particularly discerning palate for the fine bourbon and would use his keys to gain access to the best barrels, which eventually became known around the distillery as Fitzgerald barrels. Hearst and then Pappy immortalized the man who had both the keys and the fine taste by naming the brand Old Fitzgerald. Now Larceny Kentucky Straight Bourbon honors both the superb taste of this lawless treasury agent and the legacy of the Old Fitzgerald brand. So that goes through the story about it. So when I think about this, it just fascinates me. Can you imagine how much different, maybe it was better, maybe it was worse. Can you imagine how much different bourbon was back in the 1880s when it was literally, I mean, it's still all made by hand, but when it was literally made in probably extremely small batches compared to what it's made in now. I mean, very small batches compared to what a company like this or any small batch company might do. When they say small batch, it's probably nothing compared to how small some of these rick houses used to be back then. So I think this is really cool. The story is great, but let's actually figure out about the whiskey. So let's pour a drink here and get into it. So as for the color on this one, the bottle is a good indication here, but let's actually go through looking at it behind some paper. So here's the color on this one. So it's an amber. Yeah, I would put this one at amber, but that's my opinion. I put this one right at amber. No age statement on this one, so we don't know exactly how old it is. And when I nose it, you know, it's definitely familiar of that wheated note. It's got that nice, bready, peanutty smell, followed by some spice, just a little bit of cinnamon, and a lot of the peanutty, caramelly, nutty smells to it. And at $25, I think this is like my 8th bottle of this. This is a bottle that I like to go out and give people that know that I like bourbon, but aren't bourbon connoisseurs themselves. So, shouldn't say connoisseur, but aren't bourbon enthusiasts themselves. So I give it to those people because it's a low-priced, neat bottle. It's not just a normal bottle of like, you know, something they see everywhere else. So I definitely do like this stuff for that reason. So let's taste it. The one thing that I've noticed about this bottle is it's better right when it's opened. The longer the bottle sits, it actually pulls out a lot more of the alcohol taste and loses some of the wheated taste. I don't want to say that's true of all wheateds, but this one I think it is. 92 proof, maybe it has something to do with it. One more try here. But those familiar tastes are still there. It's definitely a big hit of the wheated notes. It's like wheat bread and peanut and nut flavors, peanut butter, a Snickers bar, then followed by, and when I say Snickers bar, that's because it's coming in the mid with maybe a little bit of the chocolate, coffee, toffee notes, and then it's starting to taste more like a Snickers bar dipped in coffee, which actually, it sounds pretty good now that it comes out of my mouth when I say that. Then the alcohol really sets through at the end. The finish is a little bit tough for me because it kind of just starts to burn for the proof. It's a high proof, but for the burn, it's a little bit more of the alcohol. But I think that's because this bottle has sat. And then maybe a little bit of the spice, a little bit of the toasted notes, but it's mostly just alcohol and that heat burn on the end. Little bit of oak coming through. So what do I think about this one? As far as the score goes, I think for the price it's amazing. I'm going to put this one at an 88 out of 100. Can barely even read that because I used the wrong color marker today. 88 out of 100. So this is what I think of Larceny's Kentucky Straight Bourbon. So guys, let me know what you think about this bottle. I'll be back potentially this weekend, but more than likely next week. Thanks for following the channel. We have a bunch of subscribers. I look forward to keeping everything going with our community. Thank you, and have a great night. My name is Dave. This is Whiskey Blooded. We'll see you next week.